Hello Internet, welcome to another installment of Romney's Reviews. I'm gonna keep things kind of short this time because I'm under a bit of a time crunch, but this film, it was a bit of a mixed bag for me. I mean, one of the things that I did like about it was a lot of the shots. It's shot really well. There's a lot of cool time-lapse stuff in it as well, but the way it's put together, the way it's set up, it could have used a little work. I mean, one thing that got old really quickly was the Tim Allen narration. I mean, in the latter parts of the film, it's okay when the dramatic stuff's happening because there's not really much a comedian can do with a dramatic thing happening on screen unless they really want to come off as, well, horrible. But in the whole first act, there's all these forced jokes, and then there's this shoehorned in home improvement joke with the whole, oh, power tools. You know, like how in America's Funniest Home Videos, the guy who hosts it always has those little comments on the videos? It kind of felt like that, except not funny. Now, the names they gave some of these chimps, I mean, Oscar, Freddy, and whatever the mom's name was, those are fine, but when you name your villain Scar, yeah, they named the rival villain chimp Scar. You may as well just have someone standing in the front row just going, subtlety! I apologize for that. I've been watching way too many That Guy with the Glasses reviews lately. Now, there's some really, really beautiful shots in this film. I mean, you get some nice aerial stuff, there's some cool time-lapse stuff, and just watching the chimpanzees is actually genuinely fascinating. But the problem is a lot of the shots used, particularly the time-lapse stuff, there's not enough context, not enough information to really create any relevance. I mean, with the time-lapse stuff, except for the more transitional stuff where you see clouds moving over the jungle or you see the sun kind of moving through the trees to kind of mark the passage of time, but there's some stuff that involves like plants, like when it rains, you see certain things that like, oh, it's falling into these really cool looking plants that somehow shoot out spores when water hits them, but they don't give us any info about them. They show us this cool stuff and then don't tell us anything. That's kind of, I mean, hello? It's a documentary. You're supposed to kind of teach people stuff, especially with these nature documentaries. Now, as a documentary, this thing is pretty flawed. I mean, it's not that informative, and I mean, yeah, it's not the most informative documentary on chimpanzees or the wild that you can find. I mean, there's stuff out there that gets you a lot more information, at least gives you more starting points for if you want to research this stuff on your own. Now, I know it's meant for like to be watched by kids, but even then, even as something that's meant to teach kids, it doesn't do that good of a job. Now, as a film, it's okay. It does a good job telling its story, which doesn't really appear until halfway through the film, at least the story that the trailers tell you, but again, it does a good job telling its story, but it could have been better, and the narration really bogs it down. If you took out a majority of the narration and really let the visuals and the music do it, then it probably would have been a bit of a stronger film, especially like some of the music cues that the composer did. They were actually pretty cool and they actually worked well, but again, the narration just kind of bogs things down a little bit. It's kind of like the whole The Thief and the Collar thing where they have a whole bunch of voiceover over stuff that doesn't really warrant it. Overall, this was a bit of a mixed bag. I mean, as a documentary, it's not the best choice if you want to have your kids, or if you're a teacher and you want to have your students learn about chimps. That's not really the best film to take them to. But if you're a parent and you're just wanting a film to take your kids to that isn't really violent and actually makes them learn something to a point, then I guess there's no real harm in taking them to see this one. I would just wait for it to come to the dollar theaters first. Save the money until then, because I mean, it's not worth really rushing out to it. I mean, there's the whole, oh, rush out and in the opening weekend you get the proceeds from our tickets are given to the Jane Goodall Institute or whatever it's called, which I actually did the math. Well, not really the math, I did the research. It's basically 20 cents from every ticket sold. That's not a lot of money. I'm just saying. Point being, you don't need to really rush out to theaters to see this film. On my personal scale, I give Disney's Chimpanzee a 3 out of 5. It's not, I mean, it's an okay film, but there are better choices out there. I mean, if you wait a couple weeks, if you're looking for something to entertain your kids, then wait a couple weeks, there's some better stuff on the way. But if you're looking for a documentary about animals, Disney's probably not the best choice in this case. Try the BBC. So that's it for this week's episode of Romney's Reviews. Now, the Globe is going to be taking a little break because finals week is fast approaching. However, in the meantime, Romney's Reviews will continue. Well, not really next week because finals week is fast approaching and I've got to, study, turn in my last assignments and all that fun stuff. However, what I do have planned is more reviews that take a look at older stuff and not necessarily new releases. Best way to explain it, I'm going to be taking a look at a series of live-action films based on a popular Japanese manga that has become a bit of a cultural mainstay. Look forward to it. If you're wondering about this sword that I'm holding here, this was actually a present for my 20th birthday from my older brother. I like it, it's pretty cool. Blind you with the blade, blinding, blinded by the light. Yeah, back in the sheath you go. Yeah, I'm not going to do the whole, update on stuff I'm doing like you see in certain other videos, so I'm just going to... Yeah. You all have a good night.